He smiled when he tortured them, not because he enjoyed it, because he had already decided they deserved it. And Seo Joo-Heon has never once in his life lost sleep over a decision he already made. He was not always this way. That is the part nobody talks about. The first version of Joo-Heon, the one who existed before the betrayal, before the tomb swallowed him and spat him back 15 years into the past, was not cold. He was not calculating. He was simply a man who was extraordinarily good at one thing, who gave that thing completely to people who had already decided he was disposable. He trusted, he bled, he delivered, and every single time he handed over something that cost him, the organization above him took it, logged it, and moved on without looking back at what it cost the man who brought it. That version of Joo-Heon died in the tomb. What came back was not a replacement. What came back was an answer, and the world was not ready for what he was about to ask. Here is what the fans who love him talk about: the schemes, the chaos, the way he walks into a room full of dangerous people and leaves them all smaller than when he arrived. They love the confidence. They love the ruthlessness. They love watching him dismantle enemies who never saw him coming. And none of that is wrong. But there's a layer beneath all of it that the story never announces loudly, that it simply places in front of you and waits to see if you are paying close enough attention to notice. The cruelty is not random. It never was. From the moment Joo-Heon landed back in the past, he operated on a system that most people mistake for chaos. It is not chaos. Chaos implies no direction. What Joo-Heon runs is something far more precise, a controlled demolition. Every move calculated against a map that only he can read, built entirely from the memory of a life that no longer exists but that he refuses to let go of. He remembers who betrayed him. He remembers who stayed silent. He remembers who smiled. And he has ranked every single one of them in an order that determines exactly how much they will suffer and exactly when. This is where most fans stop looking closely. Don't, because the thing underneath the system is the part that changes everything you think you know about him. He runs scams on world leaders without blinking. He manipulates allies the same way he manipulates enemies, with patience, with precision, and with the quiet understanding that sentiment is a variable he cannot afford to let into his calculations. He has looked powerful people in the eye and destroyed them not with strength, but with the simple act of knowing them better than they knew themselves. He has taken things from people that could not be returned, and he has done all of it without apology, without hesitation, without a single visible crack in the surface. But here's the thing about a man who never shows cracks. It does not mean the cracks are not there. It means he learned at some specific terrible moment that showing them was the most dangerous thing he could do. The comrades he lost in his first life do not get chapters. The story does not pause to give them eulogies. They exist in the negative space around Joo-Heon, in the decisions he makes that seem excessive until you understand what is driving them, in the lengths he goes to that seem like ego until you realize they are armor. He watched people die because he was not powerful enough, not ruthless enough, not willing enough to cross the lines that the situation required. He watched good people get swallowed by a system that rewarded only the merciless. He took notes. He came back with those notes memorized, and he decided quietly, completely, and without any drama whatsoever, that he would never again be the man who was not ruthless enough. That every line he had once refused to cross was now simply the starting position. That mercy, in the world he understood, was not a virtue. It was a gap in your defenses that someone smarter would eventually walk through. This is the cruel side nobody talks about. Not the schemes, not the manipulation. Those are visible. Those are the performance. The real cruelty is in what he removed from himself. He did not become cold by accident. He built the cold deliberately, brick by brick, as a structure to live inside. Because the alternative was to feel the full weight of everything he carried and he understood, with the clarity of a man who had already died once, that feeling that weight fully would stop him. And he could not afford to stop. Not yet. Not until every name on his list had been crossed off and every person he failed in the first timeline had been given a second chance they did not know he was engineering from the shadows. And here's where the story does something quietly extraordinary. It never asks you to forgive him. It never softens the edges or offers a scene where he sits down and explains himself and becomes sympathetic in a conventional way. It simply shows you what he does, shows you the wreckage he leaves, and trusts you to be smart enough to find the grief underneath it yourself. The readers who love Seo Joo-Heon love him not because the story told them to. They love him because they did the work of looking past the surface and found something real there, something wounded and furious and absolutely refusing to stay wounded. That is a rare thing in any story. Most characters who are broken get a moment where the story holds their hand. Joo-Heon never gets that moment. He is the author of his own mythology, the architect of his own legend, and he would rather be feared completely than understood partially. He walks through the narrative like a man who has already read the ending and simply needs everyone else to catch up. But even he has moments, small ones, unannounced, the kind that hit harder precisely because they are so rare. A flash of something genuine behind the calculation. A decision that makes no strategic sense in every human sense. A single beat where the armor is not performing and the man underneath, it is simply present, tired, maybe, or quietly satisfied in a way that has nothing to do with power. These are the moments that make readers put the manhwa down and stare at the ceiling for a minute. Because in those moments, you do not see the Tomb Raider King. You see the man who just wanted to save his people. You see the man who decided the only way to do that was to become the most dangerous thing in every room he ever walked into. You see the cost of that decision written in every line of his face that he will never let you read directly. Seo Joo-Heon is not cruel because he is broken. He is cruel because he made a choice with full awareness and full acceptance of what it would cost him. That cruelty in service of the people he loved was worth more than kindness that protected no one. That is not a comfortable conclusion. It is not supposed to be, but it is an honest one. And honesty, in a character this complex, is rarer and more valuable than heroism. He is the cruel side of Tomb Raider King. And the cruel side is the one that stays with you long after the last chapter. Here is the question I want to leave you with, and I want you to actually think about it before you type. If Seo Joo-Heon had arrived back in the past and chosen a different road, chose to warn people, chose to build instead of destroy, chose to let the wound heal instead of weaponize it, do you think he would have saved more people? Or did the cruelty have to be exactly this precise to get the job done? Leave your answer in the comments, because I genuinely do not think there is one right answer to this. And if you want to keep going deeper into the characters that manhwa hides in plain sight, the ones the story never fully explains because it trusts you to feel them instead, then subscribe now. Because the next character we are covering looked at Joo-Heon's method and chose something even darker.